Hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. Those of you that are here on time, always highly appreciated. It's Bike Anywhere week. That's an awesome thing. It's Friday. That's an awesome thing. And we're going to talk about bikes for the next 45 minutes to an hour. That's the most awesome thing. This is Bike 202. If you saw 101, you get extra credit. If you didn't, that's okay, because some of this stuff feels like 101 stuff as well. You'll see when we get into it. I'm joined today by my associate and co-presenter, Sylvie. Hello, Sylvie.
Hi, folks. I'm excited to be with you and talk about bikes also. This is what Kevin and I do all day long anyway, but it's fun to do it with an audience. We also have Phoenix Smith joining us. She's with SANDAG iCommute. So I'm going to welcome Phoenix. And Kevin, if you can help Phoenix get in. She's on stage.
There we go.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Phoenix. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
I like your shirt.
Thanks. Do you have one too?
I have yet to pick mine up, unfortunately, but I promise I'm going to get one.
That's okay. You still have one more day.
I know. I'm excited. I think that it is Friday, but there's still some stuff to talk about as far as Bike Anywhere Week goes, and I was hoping you could fill people in.
I would be happy to. I'll give you a quick rundown.
Wonderful. Go for it.
All right. So I'm Phoenix Smith. I'm a senior marketing analyst at SANDAG, and I'm going to tell you how we're celebrating Bike Month this year. So as you've heard, Bike Anywhere Week is hosted by SANDAG, or the San Diego Association of Governments. And if you don't know who we are, we're the region's long-term planning agency made up of representatives from all 18 cities in the county. And we're responsible for creating the long-term vision for the San Diego region. Through our iCommute program, we normally host an annual event you may have heard of called Bike to Work Day. iCommute encourages transportation alternatives to help reduce traffic congestion, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in an effort to keep everybody safe this year, we shifted gears for 2021 with Bike Anywhere Week. As you may have checked it out already, we created a combination of self-guided bike activities and virtual events to encourage everyone to get out and ride safely. Go by bike to work, school, the store, the beach, or just around your neighborhood. We hope you've been able to explore your community by bike this week and discover why San Diego is one of the best places in the country to go by bike. Now, there's still time to take the pledge and replace a car trip with a bike ride and go by bike. If you haven't already, you can take the pledge at icommutesd.com/bikeanywhere. And remember, you need to take that pledge to get your free t-shirt. So Kevin, have you taken the pledge? I hope you have. The Bike Anywhere t-shirt, Bike Anywhere Week t-shirt is available for pickup at 10 designated locations throughout the county through tomorrow. When you pick up your t-shirt, make sure to bring your confirmation email. They'll scan it, wear a mask, and consider biking. And make sure to check out the map on our website because the business hours do vary based on location. So we have some really awesome partners this year and some really cool prizes to win in our contest this week. First, you can share a selfie in your t-shirt for a chance to win a spot in the Pedal Ahead electric bike program. We're giving away 3 spots, plus a safety gear package courtesy of Rider Safety Visibility. You can log a bike trip on Love to Ride through tomorrow. You can log your trip anytime, but through tomorrow, each bike ride you log during Bike Anywhere Week is an entry to win a new bike, courtesy of the San Diego Bicycle Club, bike shop and restaurant gift cards, commuter backpacks, and some other awesome prizes. And I know a lot of you have been playing REI Bike Anywhere Bingo this week. It's been a lot of fun to see your activity there. So make sure to turn in your completed bingo card through tomorrow for a chance to win a new bike and other great prizes, courtesy of REI. And we're coming to a close of Bike Anywhere Week, but you still have one more day. There are a lot of great options to participate, as you can see. So get out there tomorrow. You've still got a chance to take a self-guided bike tour. The Bike Coalition helped us create some really cool new bike tours if you haven't seen them already with story maps. You can go by bike on a shared street in PV or El Cajon, or catch a recording of one of our virtual classes from this week and learn some new biking skills. You can find the recordings of our classes and events on our website and on our YouTube channel. All right, Kevin and Sylvia, that's it for me. Thanks everyone for your participation, and let's get started with our class.
Cool. Thanks so much for having us. Thanks so much for making Bike Anywhere Week work. It's funny, I have so many Bike to Work Day t-shirts, but I don't have a single Bike Anywhere Week shirt.
Yeah, it's one of a
So
kind.
I'm excited for this. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Kevin.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's make it so that we can learn a little bit about bike commuting 202. Hooray! So, if you were here for the 101 class, that's great. That's the class where we focus a little bit more on rules of the road and the law, and we touch on, sprinkle a little bit about best practices and even things like fixing a flat and that kind of stuff. This one is a little bit more in depth in terms of the bike itself, and we talk a little bit about e-bikes, and I'll save the rest for you to find out on your own. It's a little bit of a surprise. But I definitely wanted to talk about the bike itself and making sure that the bike is set up in a way that makes sense for you. So maybe you've ridden the bike a lot already, you're commuting all the time, but there's some pain, or you're not quite sure if you have the right bike for you even. That's something that I'd like to cover. And that's where I'm going to spend the bulk of my time, at least at the beginning here. So to make sure we're all on the same page, we're going to talk about how to choose the right bike. We're going to how to make that bike be as comfortable as possible, because there's all kinds of different adjustments that you can do. And you don't have to have a whole bunch of tools to do it. With just a couple, you can make some pretty significant differences. How to choose the right gear and accessories. So in addition to making sure that you have the right bike, how are you carrying things? How are you carrying people? And how are you keeping yourself comfortable when you're doing that? How to plan a route. We touch on it a little bit in the 101 class. We're going to go really in depth today. And if you're planning on going somewhere that you haven't been before, then you can, there's specific ways to make that easy for you. And we'll talk about what those are. And then we've got some very cool, fresh videos, hot out of the oven, just finished recently. And those are, I've got a little black line at the bottom of the screen. That's annoying. There we go. Those are going to go into very quick detail about specific skills, maneuvers that you can do on your own that will make you a better biker. Little tiny things that if you practiced every day, you'd find your response time getting faster, you'd feel more confident on the road, and it's a secret as to how those work. And so we're going to show you and let you in on that secret in just a second. So there's so many questions that go into choosing the right bike. There's a lot of different things to consider. Money is a big motivator for people. Where should I buy the bike? If I am going to buy used or I am going to buy new, where should I do either one of those things? And if I'm going to buy used, what's the best place? Is Craigslist okay? Is it not okay? And if I'm going to buy used, what do I look out for? What's a danger? What's a bike that's not going to work? How do I recognize what those things are? So maybe you already have a bike. Maybe you're thinking about getting another one. And I can talk a little bit about making sure that you already have the right bike for you. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So in order to determine the type of bike, that's sort of the bottom of the pyramid. And we're going to start at the top of the pyramid. And we're going to talk about the types of rides, first of all. So we, as the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, are a commuter-focused organization. We're focused on getting around by bike, getting from point A to point B by bicycle, using the bicycle to replace a car trip. Now, there's other types of rides. A recreational ride isn't replacing a car trip. In fact, a lot of times I know people put the bike on the car and then drive to where they're going to be recreational with the bicycle. So that's things like mountain biking, riding around the park, meeting up with friends and riding around just to, be friendly. That's a fun way to do it. There's also people that use the bikes in a very competitive way. And it's the same as cars, really. I mean, you have a car, but some people use their car to race. Some people use their car to look cool and drive slow. And other people use their car to get from point A to point B. And that's the same thing with a bicycle. So if you were a racer, if you wanted to go insane distances, you would do it on a different type of bike than you would do it on if you were just getting to the grocery store and back. So The things to look out for when you're looking for either a competitive style bike or a commuter style bike or a recreational style bike are bigger than you'd think. Yes, these all have handlebars and two wheels and a chain, but there's a lot of differences that go into how comfortable you're going to be when you're completing each one of these tasks. So a competitive style bike is not going to weigh very much at all. In fact, there's people that are going to tell you that you should use a metal file and shave off little parts of the bicycle to get the milligrams down. You're carrying almost nothing, maybe a water bottle, but even that's going to be, an expensive, fancy water bottle to make sure it's nice and lightweight. It's designed for specific terrains. You're not going to take a competitive racing style bike on a dirt path. And it's focused mainly on performance. It's focused on getting from A to B as quickly as possible, or as impressively as possible if you're doing, tricks and things like that. The other end of the spectrum is that recreational type of bicycle. On that end of the spectrum, these bikes can weigh a ton. So huge and heavy, because we're here to have fun and we're here to be, carrying probably some stuff, but not a lot. Enough for snacks, enough for if people are bike packing, that's a thing. So you can carry gear with you if you're doing something like that. You're maybe off-road, maybe not. There's gravel, there's dirt, there's road, there's a bunch of things in between that. And speed is not at all as important as it is for competitive, but it's still somewhat important because it's fun to go fast. And fun is the most important thing when you're looking at a recreational bike. For the Bicycle Coalition, what we focus mainly on is that commuter style bike in the middle there. You're carrying the most number of things when you're on that commuter style bicycle, because you're going to the store, you're going to a friend's house, you're going to work, and you're replacing a car trip with a bicycle trip. Car trips carry a whole bunch of stuff. My car is full of junk right now, just to the brim. It's gross. On a bicycle, if you want your bike to be full of junk too, you can do that. There's racks that go on the back wheel, there's racks that go on the front wheel, and we'll go into the specifics of what those look like. But whereas speed and performance is the most important thing with a competitive style bike, and fun is the most important thing with a recreational style bike, comfort is the most important thing with a commuter style bike. If you're riding your bike and you're riding to work and you're not comfortable, that's a problem. And we can fix that just by talking and listening to each other right now. Isn't this fun? Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. All that being said, money is a great motivator for people, and money is something that people are thinking about a lot. So if you're going to get a bike and it's a recreational style bike, what should you be looking for? What's the range? If you're going on Craigslist, if you're going on used, you can absolutely find these for as cheap as you can go. In fact, with a recreational style bike, we recommend buying used. They're generally cheaper, and oftentimes all bikes are modular to a certain extent, but the individual components on a recreational bike are easily swappable. So if you're getting a cheaper style bike and then want to start to upgrade in certain ways, there's little things that you can do to do that. Upgrade handlebars, upgrade different components like the brake and the derailleur and things like that. It's easily swappable, the different parts on a recreational bike. Whereas on a competitive style bike, these are very high-end components in addition to the bike itself being very high-end. So each piece that you get is going to be very custom to that style of bike, and it's going to have very specific features to it. It is definitely customizable. However, that customization is going to cost more money. If you're going to be competitive and want to be seriously competitive, you're probably not buying a used bicycle. As an entry point into doing triathlons or whatever, absolutely. But when you start to get serious, you're not buying used there. You're getting new, most likely. And the price range on that, I put 11,000 as the high end, but it, in all seriousness, can go much higher than that if you want it to. In the middle is the commuter style bicycle. You're carrying some stuff. You've probably got some cool fenders on it, like this bicycle here, and you're going to be in that middle range as far as price goes. If you're paying more than $1,000 for a commuter style bicycle, there better be something pretty special about that bicycle. If you're buying used, that's absolutely an option. Knowing what you want out of that bike is very important, because this bike is going to be used to replace car trips. I know people that take that extreme step of literally selling their car. They don't want to pay the $9,000 a year it costs to continue to own that car. And now they're replacing every car trip with a bike trip. If you're doing that, that's a great thing, but it's important to know that you're getting what you're looking for and that it's going to last. So there's some things to look out for when you're buying used. Sylvie, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks, Kevin. So I spend a lot of my youth as a bike mechanic. And so buying used bikes is something that I love talking about because I think of all the bikes I've owned, and if I'm being totally honest, maybe I've owned like 10 to 15 bikes in my life. Only 2 of them have been new. And that's because bikes can last a lifetime if you can do a little bit of maintenance to them on a consistent basis. But if you do want to buy used, like I do most of the time, this is some stuff to keep in mind. So, like Kevin said, Craigslist, eBay, OfferUp, even some bike shops will sell used bikes. As an example, in San Diego, Thomas Community Bike Shop sells used bikes. It's actually also the oldest bike shop in San Diego. Fun fact. Stuff to look at when you buy a used bike. So you'll be able to see a little bit in the photo if someone has posted the bike online, but actually like getting up close and looking at the bike is going to be really key in knowing what questions to ask. So the things you want to see is, does the bike have any dents any place on it? On this bike, all the stuff we've highlighted in red is components of the frame. That's the stuff that can't be swapped out. That's the place that if you have a dent, it might mean that bike is not going to be a good option. Some bikes can be fixed and welded, but mostly I would avoid a dent that's a bike that has dents and has been in any kind of crash that you can tell. Beyond that, you want to look closely at things like the shifting system, so the derailleurs and the chain and the cranks. You can see all that also indicated in this image. You want to just check that this bike is, doing all the things it's supposed to smoothly. In Bike Commuting 101 and in the bike tune-up class that we taught this Monday, which you can also find on YouTube, we did a full bike tune-up, an ABC quick check, as we call it. That's the kind of thing it's helpful to know about, because if you can do an ABC quick check on the bike, you can easily diagnose some of the stuff that could be an issue that you maybe can fix, but maybe cannot fix without spending a lot of money. Last couple things, check that the wheel isn't obviously, bent, cracked, damaged any place. Check that the headset, and that's like the cockpit of the bike, like the front end, check that that's all kind of moving smoothly. Again, nothing is bent in that space. And then what you'll be looking at is the size of the bike. So you decide to get a used bike. Now you want to check that it actually fits you. A couple of examples of what is way too small, what's way too big, and what's a good fit. So on the left, this gal in red, this bike is too small, and what I'm looking at mostly is the space between this woman's body and the top tube of the bike. So plenty of space. If she was to get on this bike, she'd feel totally cramped up and kind of tiny on it. You want to feel like the bike fits you. You don't have to elongate way too much to fit on it. You don't want to have to extend anything out a whole bunch. And you don't want to feel like, it's a clown bike. So on the opposite side, the woman in fuchsia, if you look at this woman's body, basically at crotch level and at the place that the top tube of the bike is, she's got a bit of an overlap. What it means is anytime that she stops the bike and she dismounts, she's going to land her body onto that top tube. So you might know about some of the styles of bike frames. This is sometimes called a men's style bike. You'll also see bikes that have a slanted top tube, which allows you to get on and off the bike quite easily, especially if you have knee or hip issues. Having a bike that has a slanted top tube and is easy to step over is fantastic. It's not a women's specific thing. It's just a style of bike that is convenient for some people's bodies. So looking at this individual in the middle in teal, that's a good size. And it's funny because this is a comic, so it's not quite to scale, but when you stand above the bike and you lift it up, you want to have just about 1 to 2 inches of space between you and the bicycle, assuming this is the kind of style and shape of the bike. You can see above we have a couple of numbers, so that's to indicate the relationship between the standover height. So that is, basically that space between you and the bike when you stand over it. It's how tall the bike is. So how that connects with leg length. Some people will also associate this with height. I find in my life that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm only 5'5", but I've got long legs, and so I fit on a medium-sized bike. I know somebody who's 6 feet tall. We have the same exact length legs, so he also fits on a medium-sized bike. So one of those places that sometimes if you go to buy a new bike or even a used bike and you say, this is how tall I am, what bike should I fit on? Those sizes might not match up. Okay, so this is bike fitting. So you found that bike you want, you know that it's the size you want. At that point, it's still completely adjustable down to the frame. That's the one thing you can't change. So a couple of things that you'll be looking at when it comes to fitting, we've highlighted on this slide. Bike fitting is basically about feeling confident on the bike. If you have a bike that feels good, you'll actually want to get out and want to use it a lot. I had a bike stolen, and when I got it back and kind of adjusted it to fit me again, it was the best. But in the meantime, I had a bike that someone lent me, and it just didn't fit me quite right. It just wasn't quite. It was a little too big. I didn't like how it had been like built up because it was somebody else's bike, in essence. And I spent a couple months just biking a whole lot less because I wasn't on a bike that I felt good on. So confidence is a big piece of this, feeling comfy on the bike. Also being able to control the bike effectively. If you hop on a bike that's way too big or way too small, you just don't have as much control to maneuver it around and get out of situations quickly. And like I said, if you have a bike that you like being on, you'll actually want to go out, you'll bike on it, you'll build up all those skills. We will come back to some of the details of bike fitting in a little bit, but this gives you just a little bit of a look at some of the body positions, placements, and also things that can be adjusted that you'd want to know about as you begin to kind of get used to this new bike and decide maybe what you want to invest money in and what you want to change. So, body position, you see two examples that I like a whole lot. The top one is a recumbent bicycle. The bottom is more of a kind of competitive, like triathlon style of bicycle. You can see absolute opposite body positions. This is a little activity that I love doing with people because I think this is a cool way to think about how the body position on a bike is meant to like maximize how you use it and the muscles you have. So Kevin's going to talk. I'm going to actually mute myself and do a little live demo of this activity. And if you want, please do this with us.
So this is the physical portion of the class. I am sorry I didn't warn you ahead of time, but here's how this is going to work. I think that it's common of people to assume, oh, well, I want the seat to be as wide as, if I, when you get into a pool and you sit down on the edge and then you stand up, I want the bike seat to be that size. That's not ideal. And the reason is I'm about to show you why. So Sylvie's going to sit on the edge of the chair and she's going to stand up. That's my only instruction. That was it. Did you see it? We're going to do it a couple more times. You're sitting down, put yourself on the very edge of that chair, and then stand up. Watch what happens with Sylvie's shoulders. Watch what happens with the upper part of Sylvie's body when she sits down and stands up. So, as a counterexample, try and stand without leaning forward at all. Keep your head like a balloon, your shoulders completely straight. Put yourself in the same part of the chair you were before and stand up without leaning forward. It's wildly hard. Surprisingly so. So, the difference is that leaning forward. And here's the other fun thing. The further back you're able to get your feet underneath you, the easier it's going to be to stand up as well. So if your toes are almost parallel with your hips, then it's much easier to stand up without leaning forward, as opposed to if your toes are further out in front of you. So on a cruiser style bike, on a beach cruiser, or a much more casual style bike, your feet are way out in front of where your hips are. And so the downward force is coming from your knees to your ankles, and that's it. You're in the core, right, exactly. But on that time trial style bike, you're way more leaned over. And when you make a straight line with your leg, it's perfectly straight from your hip all the way down to your ankle. And you're getting that entire body movement all through. So everyone try it with me. You're on the edge of your seat. You stand up without moving your shoulders one time and try and do it with moving the shoulders the other time. And you'll see the difference. I'm leaning forward. That makes it easy to stand up. I'm not leaning forward. And that is a surprisingly good workout. You did it. Good job, Sylvie. You've got great leg muscles, apparently. So, yes, it looks silly to have someone curled up as much as they are when they're on that time trial style bicycle, but there's a reason for it. And the reason is you're getting power from your whole body as opposed to power just from a little part of your legs. This is also the reason that the bike seat is positioned as high as it is. There's various adjustments that you can do on the bicycle, and having the seat very low can feel comfortable for a short amount of time. But in the long term, if you're not getting your leg at its full extension, then you're not getting as much power, and you're not going to be as comfortable in the long term. Now, it takes time and effort and, to get that comfortable, and I'm fully aware of that. But if you can get your leg almost at its full extension, then you're going to be the most comfortable. We've listed some parts of the bike that are easily customizable. There's a ton of parts of the bike that are customizable, obviously, I think. But some of the quickest things that you can change on the bicycle are listed here. One of the things that you can't change on the bicycle is the size of the frame itself. So if you've got a bike and the frame is too small, no amount of changes and other parts you put onto that bicycle is going to make that bicycle fit. But if you've got a frame that does fit, and then it's uncomfortable for some other reason, there are things that you can change. With just a simple Allen wrench, 9 times out of 10, you can adjust not only the height of the seat, but also experiment with the tilt of the seat. Where is your body contacting the saddle? And how much of your body is contacting the saddle, and for how long, how far you're going, what's most comfortable to you, is speed more important than comfort, is comfort more important than speed, et cetera, et cetera. The other big difference between a commuter style bike that's going to have fenders and chain guards and things like that on it is your body position when riding is absolutely going to be more upright as opposed to more curved over. And so I know people that have these, drop bars, but they turn them upside down so they can be nice and tall. Feel like you can see everything, and that feels more comfortable to them. Fully understand that. For someone that's riding faster, for someone that's riding further, aerodynamics become more important. And so then they would change the reach, they would change the style of handlebars on a bicycle, and they'd get lower. So their back is almost parallel with the ground, like you saw in that previous picture, completely curled up. And that's for aerodynamic reasons, but it's also for the power that you're getting from your leg. The more further over your feet you are, the more comfortable it's going to be to push that leg down and get that full extension from your leg and go a little bit faster. I mentioned saddles. I don't know why, but yeah, it was some joke. It was, I don't know how many bicycle education themed jokes there are, but it was some funny anecdote about how, yeah, you get in the pool and you sit down on the edge of the pool and then you get up and like, that should be the size of the bike seat. And I understand that feeling. I want to just be able to sit on a pillow while I'm on my bike. Won't that make me the most comfortable? Surprisingly, maybe the answer is no. You need to be able to get your legs straight. And so if you're just sitting on a pillow on a recumbent style bicycle, I could see that working because you're pushing out instead of down. But there's so many different options, so many different ways that you can adjust the bicycle, and so many different types of bike seats. If there's a problem, then you're going to feel pain. And if you feel pain, that is a problem. It's not inevitable. There are things that you can do that can make that bike feel more comfortable. And adjusting the seat is one of the main ones. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, Kevin, I like that idea of like sitting on the edge of a pool. Something that I have done to find out what my saddle size is, I've gotten Play-Doh. I've put it in a plastic bag and I've sat on that. And then I can find the indents, like my sit bone indents, so I can find out what my hip width is. And that's a cool way to find out what size saddle you need, because it's relative to that distance, because it's the sit bones that should be like held up by the saddle in most situations. It depends on, the riding position that you'll be in. But most people want most of like the body weight in the sit bones and on the cushiest, or the, it's not always the cushiest because I got a saddle that has no cushion at all. But that's the place you want the most contact with the saddle.
Comfort is relative, and there's different kinds of comfort. And so comfort can come from sitting on things that are soft, but you'll know that, and I think some of you that are watching have more experience riding and can attest to this, going for a long distance while sitting on a pillow and pushing your legs while you're sitting on a pillow gets uncomfortable fairly quickly. So if your goal is to only ride your bike around the block one time every day, your bike is going to be set up in a very different way than I want to ride my bike to and from work every day. And there's things that you can do that can adjust that. And it's really fun to figure out the different parts of the bike that are swappable and experiment. Go to the bike shop. They're going to be friendly, I promise, because they want you to come hang out there and see what they have to offer. Hear about what the pros and cons are of the different types of handlebars, the different types of bike seats. Don't be afraid to just say hi and leave your bike, your wallet at home. You just want to, make friends. So these are a bunch of different types of bike seats. They're all for different types of purposes. The one thing that doesn't, I was trying to make a good transition to the next slide. I'm having trouble doing it. Let's see. Bike seats are very customizable. And the other thing that's very customizable is e-bikes. How is that for a transition? Is that okay? Okay, great. So we have gotten, in the past 6 months, more cold emails, more chat questions about e-bikes specifically than any other topic, I think. Carol says that she has an e-bike that she uses mostly for recreation. That's great. People use e-bikes for all different types of things. And especially in the last year or two, people use e-bikes for even more types of things than they did in the past. That's because the technology is improving. The bikes are getting lighter. They're getting cheaper. They're getting more efficient. They're getting cooler looking, I would argue. And it can get confusing because when I say cooler looking, a lot of times they end up just looking like motorcycles with a little tiny pedal on either side. Is that still an e-bike? Does it have to obey all the same rules that a bike that looks like a regular bike but just has a battery pack stuck on it? There's a whole bunch of different things that go into e-bikes. The reasons why someone would use them are that they can start at the same speed as other traffic. This is one of the topics or one of the pros that I feel like people don't realize until they get on the bike. But you're at a red light with a car next to you, you're at a red light with a car behind you, and the light changes. On a normal bicycle, that can absolutely be a point of nervousness, knowing that there's cars behind me. It's going to take me longer to get up to speed than it is for a car. So until I get up to that speed, I'm going to feel bad about going as slow as I do. On an e-bike, it's one twist of the handlebar, it's one push or two of the pedals, and all of a sudden you're up to speed with the residential traffic around you. That's a very cool thing, and it can absolutely help with confidence. Maintaining speed uphill. So again, wanting to continue to move at the same speed of traffic when you need that extra oomph, the e-bike battery is there. The motor is there to help push you up that hill. Stop yourself from getting sweaty when you get to work. It's very hard for me to ride slow. If I'm on a bike, I want to go fast. And if I know, okay, I'm going to work or I'm going to this place and I don't want to be too out of breath when I get there, so I'm going to try and ride nice and slow. It's very hard for me to do that. I find myself going faster and faster. So this e-bike, using one of these, allows me to get that speed, but I'm not using the same amount of effort over time. I can go further, I can go faster, and I look cool when I'm doing it. At least, I mean, I suppose that's relative, but I think they look great. If you're looking into getting an e-bike, or if you already have an e-bike, there's a couple different things to know. We teach an e-bike specific class, and we're going to continue to teach those e-bike specific classes going forward. If you have one, or even if you're just thinking about getting one, check out our website, check out iCommute's website. There's all kinds of classes that we're going to teach. And even if you don't have one, and don't even plan on having one, you're going to find a friend who has one. You're going to interact with them when they're on the street. But there's things to know. One of the first things to know is that there's essentially 3 main types. There's a couple of things to notice about these diagrams. This circle is where the motor is, and the bar is where the battery is. Sometimes the battery can be in the frame. Sometimes the battery and the motor can be in the wheel. Sometimes the wheel motor can be on the front, and sometimes it can be on the back. So front hub, mid drive, and rear drive are things that will affect the way the bicycle feels when you're riding it. But all of these types are not cheating. If you're in a race and you're not telling anybody that it's an e-bike and you're using an e-bike, that's cheating. But day to day, most of us are not usually racing except for, with ourselves. So using an e-bike isn't something that's cheating. It's just another way to get out and get on a bicycle. That's my take.
I just thought I'd come hang out because I have an e-bike, and I honestly haven't thought much about what class e-bike it is in a while. And I know that's the next slide. So how's that as a segue goes? Can we talk about e-bike classes, Kevin?
We absolutely can. And I think you know about as much as I do about this. In fact, maybe a little bit more, but especially because you're one of the ones that came up with this very cool looking chart. So it's got a whole bunch of different tiles on it. I'm going to say things that aren't as important for the next 30 seconds while you look over this chart. So you can see on the y-axis, this is in California specifically. So those of you watching from out of state, please consult your own vehicle code. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different types of two-wheeled vehicles listed. The top type is just a standard bicycle with no motor. Then we've got type 1, type 2, and type 3 of e-bike, and then we've got moped. Here's the differences between type 1, type 2, and type 3. The first and most obvious is that they have a difference in their max assisted speed. Now, if you're going downhill, you can get the bike to go faster than that, but you can't get the motor to get you to go faster than the speed that's listed. For type 1 and type 2, that speed is 20 miles an hour. For type 3, that speed is 28 miles an hour. The other difference between type 1 and type 2 you can see is that pedals are required to operate it in type 1, and pedals are not required to operate it in type 2. That means there's a throttle. There's a thing on the handlebars that you can spin, and that's what gives you that power. Those are great for moving through traffic, but it's not a motorcycle. It's a bicycle, and it has pedals, and that's what you should mainly be using to get through the world.
So, Kevin, this is my question to you.
Yes.
I have a type 2 e-bike.
Yeah.
But only, and this is the place I've got a question, only because I have set my top speed to be 20 miles an hour, but I'm able to set my top speed to be 25 instead. I decided I wanted to keep it as a class 2, but what do you think about that? Some of them you can change the speed setting and you can limit how much when the assist will cut out, basically, is what's happening.
Yeah, it's wild the different types of how much one e-bike can differ from another. And you'll have your own e-bike and ride it all the time, and then you jump on somebody else's, and it can feel extremely different in terms of when that power starts, when that power stops, and then the throttle as well. My instinct is that if it has the ability to go at a higher max assisted speed than 20, then it should count as the same type of bike that has the ability to go higher than the max assisted speed of 20. That's my instinct. But yeah, that's where I stand.
So then what comes up is, you have limitations based on how fast the bike can go. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like biking on a sidewalk on an e-bike, to me, is illogical because people on sidewalks move at, a max of 3, 4, 5 miles an hour. And if you have an e-bike that's able to go 28 on a sidewalk, imagine all the potential conflicts. But if I can keep my e-bike, down at a low speed, I don't want to be on a sidewalk still, but I could see myself thinking, okay, I'm going to bike on, a class 1 bike path because I'm going to keep my speed slow. I'm not going to put myself in those conflict situations with everybody else who's using that, kind of tight path. Just a couple things to think about with, speed and e-bikes and the power behind it.
You mentioned the bike access, and you can see that most of the words on here are yes. There's only 3 words on here in this section that are no. And those 3 no's come in when you've got the type 3 e-bike, which is the much faster style of bicycle. That's the one no in that section, is that this faster style of bicycle, this class 3 e-bike, is not allowed on the class 1 bike paths. Bike paths, bike lanes, bike routes, and protected lanes you'll know about if you attended 101, because we went over in detail what the difference between those 4 types were. So having a bicycle that has that speed to it, that's not encouraged and not allowed to be on that class 1 bike path, because those are bike paths that are primarily used by slower road users. Mopeds, similarly, are essentially slow-moving motorcycles, and as such are definitely not allowed in those separated protected lanes. and similarly are not allowed on bike paths. The other thing to notice that's different about an e-bike across the board is in this helmet column. So a standard bicycle under 18, you're required to have a helmet. E-bikes, it's 17 and under. And for this faster Type 3 style of e-bike, the answer is just yes, you're required to have the helmet. No matter what. So there's a lot more information, and we've got an even more complicated version of this chart. But in the interest of time, because we're already running low, I'm going to continue moving on and then talk about cargo bikes. This cargo bike here is an e-bike as well. It's got the little battery on it, which is great. And when we talk about commuting, we're talking about oftentimes replacing car trips with bike trips. And so if you have a cargo bike, it makes it easier to replace those car trips with bike trips. You can put all kinds of stuff in them, and they come in all different styles. You can see some of them are carrying the cargo behind the rider. Some of them are carrying the cargo in front of the rider. Some of them have 3 wheels. Some of them have 2. Some of them are, if you're carrying that cargo, it's just the trailer that's where the cargo goes. But if you're carrying things on the bicycle, the goal, I think, is to carry them on the bicycle and not on the body. And so that can look like a lot of different things. If you're carrying it on your body, your back gets sweaty and the weight is very top heavy and it's generally uncomfortable. Now, if it's just a small pack and you've got a granola bar and a little tiny water bottle in there, I could see it working. But if you're carrying anything bigger, recognize this person. If you're carrying anything heavier, then having a rack of some kind that's attached physically to the bicycle can be helpful. And in that middle range, we've got, and also the cutest type of carrying things, is the front basket. I highly recommend putting a little flower or something friendly on there because people like to see that. Everyone say this word out loud, how they think it's pronounced. And now, Sylvie, say it out loud how it is pronounced.
Panniers.
Panier. It's like pan. Yay. I still call it paneer because I'm
that's a type of Indian food. That's cheese, Kevin.
Paneer. I'm stubborn and American, and I like to say paneer. But yeah, it's essentially another form of saddlebag. So like if you're riding a horse, you'd have the weight on either side of the saddle. You can sort of see it in this picture. You're carrying the weight on the bicycle, and that makes it much easier, especially for long trips. Okay, here's the part that I'm most excited about, and that is planning the route. Google Maps has gotten much better at bicycle directions. Apple Maps, even just in the last 6 months, has gotten much better about providing bicycle directions. Neither one is perfect, but there's ways to use it that make it make more sense. One of the first things I notice when I type in that I'm in Encinitas and I'd like to go to the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition offices, the first thing that I would look at is this topography. It's going to give me a couple different options, and I'm going to think about what type of hills I want to deal with. So in the blue line, there's a super steep uphill. I'm willing to bet that's Torrey Pines, and then a long downhill, and then it's relatively flat for the rest of the ride. On that gray line, it's more gradually up and gradually down, but then I've got a super steep uphill at the end. One of these is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and the other one is 3 hours and 5 minutes. One of them's a little bit shorter, one of them's a little bit longer. So why would I choose a route that's longer ever? There's a couple different reasons. Neighborhood streets, bike lanes, bike routes, bike paths, I might prioritize those over speed because I want to be more comfortable when I'm riding. The other thing that can help with that, if you use it already, is something like Strava or Map My Ride or other bike tracking apps. A lot of them will allow you to see where other people ride. And so if you know that a bunch of people are riding in one area and none of them are using street A, that's probably a street that you should avoid as well. So you're looking up your route and checking the Go by Bike icon, and that's going to give you a couple different options. And then you can explore them virtually before you do them in person. I also like to use the street view sometimes. If there's an intersection that I, from above, can tell is going to be a little bit funny, you can use Google Maps to really get down and dirty and feel like you're right on the street and see what those freeway on-ramps and off-ramps look like. How many lanes is this street? Is that something that I'm going to be comfortable with? And then if you are going to be riding to work for the first time, maybe you've moved to a new area and you've got a new commute, absolutely practice that on a Saturday or on a day that you're not working ahead of time. And also remember that traffic conditions change during the day and by whether it's a weekday or not. So you're also going to use these mapping conditions that are listed on Google Maps and Apple Maps in conjunction with other types of mapping services. So we've got this here. It's Google. It says this is the most direct. It's not showing us the difference between the different types of bike infrastructure. The way to figure that out is with iCommute's bike map. Hooray! Let's go ahead and put that map in the chat. I encourage you to click on that link and just go ahead and look at it as I'm talking. I promise I won't be offended. There's so many different colors here, and there's so many different types of things to see. We recently created a San Diego River Trail route that starts from right over here, heads east, goes into Fashion Valley, crosses at Qualcomm, and then comes back on the other side. And you can see on that type of route, you're mostly on that dark orange color. And then you can see here that the dark orange color is a multi-use path, aka class 1 bike path. So it's just for bikes, but also people walking their dogs with leashes that are way too long. But you're not interacting with car traffic when you're on a piece of infrastructure like that. And that can make you feel more comfortable. If you're moving into downtown, you're moving into other areas of San Diego, finding out ways to get there that put you on the color that you like the most is important. One of the most common you'll see is the light orange, which is just the other suggested route. Those are not usually officially a bike way, but they're a street that's going to be better than a parallel one for any number of reasons. It's more direct, or the volume of traffic is lower, whatever else. So these maps exist in physical form, but they're great in digital form as well, because they're on the iCommute bike map specifically. It'll show you the different types of bike infrastructure that exists. And so knowing that I'm in a street, or knowing that I have this multi-use path, not exactly, I don't live at Dog Beach and work in Mission Valley, but I can use that as part of where I'm going to. And so maybe I add on a half mile in order to get there, but I feel way more comfortable. I can go slower, or I can even go faster. And I don't have to worry about cars when I'm doing it. So let's watch some bike drills. We recently created this series, and I'm just going to play the first one and talk over it. We created this series of bike handling skills drills. You can find these on the SD Bike Coalition YouTube page. We have done few, if any, in-person bike classes in the last year and a half. And those are very important. And here's some footage of one of the few in-person ones that we did do. Those are very important because you can only watch so many videos that can teach you how to do things, especially when they're long videos and the person just keeps droning on and on like I'm doing right now. That can get boring. So instead, we've created these short 1-minute videos that go over 3 very tiny and specific things that can help you become a better bike rider. And some of them aren't things that you think about. If I say it's important to ride your bike with one hand, your answer might be, that seems like you're just showing off. Why would that actually be important? But watching the video shows not only how to do that skill, but how riding with one hand can actually make it so that you're better able to see around you, better able to have your head on a swivel, and also signal. I think that's important as well. Sylvie, let's see the tips and tricks. Oh, pedal positions video. That's a good one. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And again, this is stuff you can do at home, so please do. So I did see a comment in the chat. This was filmed at Mira Mesa High School. So I was just teaching somebody new how to bicycle, and once she got used to coasting without having pedals on the bike, we put pedals on, and we spent most of, I think, 2 days doing this, which was just kicking the pedal up so that even when she's not sitting on the saddle yet, she's in what we call like a pedal ready kind of launching position. And it means as soon as you step on that pedal and you put some body weight on it, you have this momentum. As long as a bike is moving at about 8 miles an hour, it balances by itself. So if you want to kind of ghost ride and just like push the bike off, you can get it moving at 8 miles an hour. It's just going to keep going and balancing without falling. So that's that place that launching helps so much, getting a little bit of speed, you get that balance going. And then getting off the bike, this is a key thing to like safe stopping and balancing, and the ability to take off fast. Is just getting both feet down and body off of the saddle. I think a lot of people instead will put the saddle way too low. They won't have good bike fit, but they'll do that so that they feel safe anytime they get to a stop. So it's just building that new habit of actually dismounting, getting one foot down, getting both feet down, and then kicking the pedal back up into a pedal ready position to take off again. Yeah, so efficient, helps so much with being able to get the bike to fit you well and get the saddle high enough to actually use the muscles you have that have been not designed, but best suited to biking.
So all of these videos are available on our YouTube page. My goal is to have you watch them not just one time, but many times. You'll find them just by looking at our page. There's some of the top ones that are listed. And they're designed to be short and designed to be viewed more than once. The quick turn is one of the more advanced of the three. But it's advanced in some ways and not in others, because it's already a movement that you know how to do, and it's already a movement that you're already doing. What I mean by that is turning the handlebars doesn't make the bike turn. Leaning makes the bike turn. And turning the handlebars can help the bike lean. And turning the handlebars in the opposite direction that you want the bike to lean can actually help. You can see this yourself if you stand in front of your bicycle, one hand on either side of the handlebars, turn the handlebars to the left, and watch the bike fall to the right. We can use this motion to help us lean the bike even faster, turn the bike even faster. By turning the wheel in the opposite direction, letting the bike begin to fall, and then leaning into that motion, you can get the bike to turn extremely quickly. It's not a motion that comes naturally, but the funny thing is, it's a motion you're already doing without thinking about it. If I asked you to turn the bike very quickly, you'd do this slowly, but focus on the movement, lean into it, hyperextend it, do it more consciously. And you can turn even faster than you could without that leaning motion.
I was in that situation like a week ago that someone cut me off. What it's called is like a right hook. So I was attempting to go straight. They suddenly decided they wanted to go right. And, I was still moving and I had this momentum. So I just did exactly that, because I've done this so many times in these classes that it was like, a skill that I had. It was kind of innate. It was cool. It was cool to have. I have that memory.
We teach a quick stop, and that's another skill that you can use to get the bike to stop very quickly. But in that situation that Sylvie's talking about, it doesn't make sense to stop the bike from moving forward completely very quickly. It makes sense at speed, when the car in front of you is turning right in front of you, to turn with the vehicle. And then you're both moving in the same direction, and you're not stopped in the middle of the street blocking traffic from moving behind you. So it's a very quick turn to one side, you'll feel that bike start to lean, and then you lean into that movement, and that allows you to turn extremely quickly. It can be a little bit scary, but the bike wants to stay upright. It's sort of a silly way to say it, I guess, but it's true. The bike is designed to, thanks to centrifugal force, the bike is trying to stay upright as much as possible. So you can help that movement happen by just a flick of the wrist, as they say. So we're just about at the end of the information that we had previously prepared for you. That being said, I love taking questions from the audience, and I would like it if you would put some in the chat right now, or at least just compliment us and tell us how great we are. As you're doing that, please, after this class, or if you just remember and do it on Monday or whatever, check out our website, sdbikecoalition.org. Please check out iCommute's website, which is iCommuteSD. And then also, you've heard us talk about it before, probably, but Love to Ride is an amazing platform that allows people to ride together, but ride separately. It's free. You sign up, you log your rides, and you get physical, real-life prizes for doing it. The best way I know to get people to ride is to find a friend that also rides, and then you guys pressure each other into riding more. This is the way to do that, but to do it virtually. lovetoride.net/San Diego County, because it is a big organization and cities all over the place are using it. But if you focus in on San Diego County, you can see that they're giving out prizes, we're giving out prizes, everyone's giving out prizes. And the emphasis is on riding more, not riding more distance, not riding more quickly, but literally just getting on the bike more than you did previously, and getting your friends to get on the bike more than they did previously as well. Cool. So, any questions in the chat? New bike skills video must use high-tech camera, almost 3D like. Isn't that great? Yeah, I think one day, maybe by this time next year, it'll be all drone footage and we'll fly in from overhead and the sun will rise and there'll be an army of CGI bicycles that descend down a canyon or something. But, one day. But until then, yeah, it's surprising the quality of video you can get on a consumer level camera. Very cool. Yeah, centrifugal force is a real thing. It's a fun. I remember as a kid, you take the front wheel of your bike off, you hold the axle on either side, hold it out in front of your body, and you spin it, and it's you can feel it try and stay upright. What's the name of that toy where it's a wheel that spins horizontal to the ground, and it's like you spin it and you spin it with a little string and then it stays up and then it doesn't fall over. You know what I'm talking about? There's a name for that. Someone put the name in the chat if you remember what that's
called. Not just called a top? Is that not what that is?
No, I mean it is a top, but also there's that thing where it's like a ring, and then there's a wheel inside the ring, and then it stays upright, and then just like on a little pin. But yeah, basically it's the same reason that a top stays upright. That same force is what allows the bike to stay upright. It's the physical spinning that makes it do that. It's very cool. Bob says, I'm hoping the VeloSwap will start back up. Great place to start for use bike park. Yes, it's absolutely true. I have
a comment about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the Bike Coalition is thinking about doing I guess we won't call it a VeloSwap. That name has been taken. We've been talking to the Velodrome people, though, about doing some kind of like big outside community VeloSwap. So we'll see. Hopefully we can do something like that in a couple months, because the Velodrome is still kind of holding off on big events. But yeah, I love that idea of exchanging bike stuff. Thanks. Bob is on it today.
Gyroscope. Let me just Google that real quick. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to let people know we edit these videos at the end and we cut off the last couple minutes when Kevin and I just chat about things. So this is just bike chatting time now. This will not be in the video that you can go back and watch. So stay tuned. This is when the funny stuff happens. Mostly we just keep talking about bikes and bike movies, though.
You're welcome to stick around, or you're welcome to go. Thank you all for being here. And I'm just going to stick around and ask questions, answer questions. Maybe I'll ask questions too. But anything you were dying to know about a bicycle, something that you didn't know how the bike worked, I guarantee with 100% accuracy, I know the answer to any question you're about to ask.
And by you mean Google?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. If you didn't attend the 101 class, I highly recommend doing that. It's got more specific answers about rules of the road and laws and things like that, whereas this one goes into different stuff. But there's so much to know about this, and I'm very thankful that you all stuck around with us for this hour. Thank you again to SANDAG and iCommute for having us. I'm very glad that we were able to make Bike to Work Day into Bike Anywhere Week. And it's a trend that I'm excited to see continue, but I'm also excited for the real life 30th annual Bike to Work Day, which, as far as I know, is going to happen next year. Very cool. Take the pledge. They'll tell you where to pick up your Bike Anywhere shirt. I still have to pick up mine. I'm going to do it, I promise. Because if I miss, this is the thing, is if I miss out on a Bike to Work Day t-shirt, it's like, oh, well, I'll get the one next year. But if I miss out on a Bike Anywhere Week shirt, that's not going to happen again. So check that out. And then you can sell it on eBay for $100. Just kidding.
Hey, speaking of cool custom stuff, isn't the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition giving away a bike line?
So there's
t-shirt on Wednesday?
So we've got a Bike Week shirt from SANDAG, and then there's also a shirt which celebrates Bike Month as a whole that the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition, spoiler alert, that's the organization we work for, has designed and is giving away as well. We're a nonprofit organization, so we always recommend donations, and a $60 donation this month will get you one of those very cool Bike Month shirts. I wonder if I can pull one up real quick. Oops. Yeah, so that's kind of fun.
I did see we got a question about in the chat. That is the link. Oh, that's what it looks like. We'll be giving that away on Wednesday. If someone joins us on a live stream while we talk about what the Bike Coalition does, that's what you can win just by hanging out with us.
Life by Bike. Very cool.
Then we do have some question, comment things coming up. Let's see. Well, this is a thank you. I love those.
Thank you, Janelle.
Okay.
They recently did some asphalt repaving after installing a gas line on Black Mountain Road near Carroll Canyon in Mira Mesa. Today I noticed they painted the lane lines but did not put the sharrows back yet. Oh no. Yeah, Bob. So one of the first things this makes me think of is the Get It Done app. If there's an issue that you have and it's something that the city should take care of, like a traffic light is out, or graffiti has been done on a public space, or things like that. That's something you can report with the Get It Done app. It's an app that the city of San Diego puts out. The other thing that you can report is bicycle infrastructure that's failing. Is a bush overgrowing the bike lane so I can't even ride it in anymore? Take a picture, report it on Get It Done. Is there a street where it looks like there should be a sharrow because the lane is very narrow? Take a picture of it and report it to...
Is that a haiku?
It could be. No, not quite, but it's close. So the Get It Done app is something that the city puts out, and it's free, and you can use it to report all kinds of different things. And for people that ride bikes a lot, I highly recommend it. Is there a sewer grate that's installed in such a way that my wheel's going to fall into it if I stay in the bike lane? Take a picture of it, report it to Get It Done. So the next time you're on that Black Mountain Road, even if you assume that they're probably going to get around to painting the sharrows again at some point, now's a great time when it's not there to point someone to it who is in charge of that thing and let them know that people are watching. So great. We're just about over time now. Thank you all for being here. Highly appreciate it. Happy Bike Anywhere Week. We're going to continue to do classes like this all over the place, all over the time, and I hope that we can do some more in person sometime soon. So on behalf of the Bike Coalition as a whole, we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time. Isn't that what LeVar Burton used to say?
I don't know who that is.
LeVar Burton, the Reading Rainbow. Reading
Oh my
Rainbow.
gosh. Yeah.
I'll see you next time. Okay, anyway, thanks everybody. We'll see you on the road, either in person or virtually on the Love to Ride platform. Thanks a lot.